Shalom. This segment of this channel is devoted to testimonies from our Mishpachah family and others. Do you have a story that you would like to share? Just email me at thischannelwithken@yahoo.com and we will start the journey telling your personal testimony. Now, let's enjoy this testimony. Our next guest is special, all the way from Finland. Her name is Pilvi Kaarina Harmikki. Remember her name because the translation of it is a big part of her testimony. Pilvi, if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, just blame Google Translate, okay? Here's Pilvi's testimony. Shalom Mishpachah. I've been longing for a long time to share my testimony with you. I was already about to send a comment below Tiffany's video, but I was just not ready yet. A short while back, I talked to the Father because I wanted so bad to tell my story. Yesterday I listened to Ken saying I could send my testimony to him and he could produce and upload it to YouTube. It felt like it was an answer to my prayer. Last night I cried again in my bed, and now I'm just shaking writing this down. I had doubts that maybe I was only trying to bring esteem to myself, or others would think that my story is just stupid. I know I need to be humble and to humble myself in front of Elohim. I know that everything is planned carefully and that Father Yuhshua is amazing beyond my comprehension, and the Father can speak to us in so many beautiful ways. He chose to get my attention by using a scripture from Alan Horvath and showing my personal name in the Finnish translation. I'll start with when I was 6 years old. It was Saturday morning, and it was the day before Father's Day. I had a sleepover at my friend's house, and my mother came there to wake me up, and she was crying. She told me that my big sister had been killed last night. She had been in the city to buy our father a gift, and when coming back was killed with a knife by a stranger in our home street. She was only 15 years old. I don't remember her much anymore, but according to what I read, she was a local parishioner. After that, I was always afraid to go to school because I had to walk through that same street every day. I sometimes prayed because I was so afraid, and one day my neighbor drove up next to me and asked if I wanted a ride home. I said yes, and I remembered thinking that maybe there is someone who hears me. When I grew up, I became an atheist. I resigned myself from the evangelical Lutheran Church. I didn't have belief anymore, but I still wasn't 100% sure if there was some kind of God or not. I moved away from my parents at 16 and got different medications for depression as I was trying to finish my school. Around the age of 20, I used all kinds of drugs. After taking psychedelics, I had spiritual experiences, and they removed me from my atheism, but I became addicted to those. I yearned to get closer to what I called universe back then, and I was driven to yoga, mysticism, Hinduism, magic, and all kinds of false teachings. I even visited the Hare Krishna temple a few times, and I remember coming from there once and sitting in a bus and praying again that all I want is the truth, nothing else. I do not care about anything else if I am just shown the truth. And I sobbed. I continued to suffer. It finally led to psychosis that was so bad I couldn't even eat, and drinking water was horribly difficult. At that time, I once remember returning from a traveling trip and meeting a pastor at the train station. He had been led to talk to me, and I explained how I felt, being mad and crazy and couldn't eat, even although I was feeling very weak. In the end, we prayed together, he asked the Father to lead me to his way. I felt there was hope, but I continued getting into false teachings. I went through so many so-called spiritual teachers in my desire to find the truth, but I never found it. I got better from the psychosis after attending chef school and getting therapy. I know it was the Ruach who got me to call into that school because it just popped into my head to call there, and I asked them if there was a seat left, and there happened to be one. I never had to apply there. I just went the next day after calling and started my studies. I finished my studies and got a job. Now last summer, that is the summer after my 30th birthday, the Ruach led me to Alan Horvath's channel. I was so interested about the teachings he had done, I watched more and more of his videos. I was fascinated about the Otiot. One day I saw that he had a live fellowship going on and that he was answering questions that people asked him. Of course, the first question I had was, how can I know what is the truth? And he answered me that if it isn't in the Word, it's a lie. And then he shot me with his gun of light, which he got me laughing, and he also told me to get in the Word. I followed his instruction almost and dug up my Bible, which I think I never had opened before. I'd started reading the scriptures some, but I soon forgot to read it further. I started to attend Alan's fellowship every now and then, and at the same time I started to study from the beginning. I listened to Alan's studies from Genesis 1 forward, with Alan reading in English, and I would read along using my Finnish language translated Bible. Now I get to my turning point, where I cannot do anything but bend my knee and cry straight to the Father. This is why. Alan read Genesis 9:14, which says, "And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud." I read it in the Finnish language, and that verse was piercing right through me. It felt like letters were thrown specifically at me, and let me explain why. In the Finnish language, cloud is translated to Pilvi, which is my first name. Bow is translated to Kaari, which is in my second name. So in Pilvi Kaarina, there is a bow seen in the cloud. So my name is just there in the scripture, and I just stare at it. And about the beginning of this story, about my sister who had passed after she had been buying a Father's Day gift. Her name was Tuli, and that translates to wind. She had wind as her first name, and I remember shaking again when Tiffany talked about wind moving the clouds. And Tuli's second name was Maria, and that is the name of Miriam, Yeshua's mother. That's in my Finnish Bible. For me, all this just shouts out Elohim, and I believe maybe you can see it too. I am in awe every time I think of this, and it is my comfort and assurance in my moments of being stiff-headed, stubborn, and doubtful. I really do want to answer His call. There is nothing else for me anymore. I have finally found the truth that I have been searching for. I'm so happy I could share my story with you, and I Ahav all of you, even though I'm not so active writing in the chats or comment sections. I truly enjoy watching every study and every fellowship, and I praise and I thank Abba Father Yahweh always and forever. Shalom. Thank you for your testimony.